Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 2 of Welcome to the Dark Sun, also known as the one where everybody dies. Okay, not everybody died, but we did have deaths this time, which was a new thing for us. And if you don't know, the thing that sucks about Dark Sun is when you die, you cannot get fully healed until you long rest. So you're stuck at 1 HP until you can get back home to sleep, which is super annoying. But first of all, we did have one of our other friends join us for this session, so he had to roll a character, so we do have a new character that has joined our party. He decided to be an elf ranger, and I'm a little confused on his name because he constantly tells people that his name is Dono, D-O-N-O, but looking at his character sheet, it looked like it said Domo, and he's of the clan Arigato, so Domo Arigato makes more sense, but he keeps telling people his name is Dono, so I don't know. So if you watched the last episode, which I will link below, we left off in an oasis that we had just liberated from some Bergala, which I kept calling tiger cats, but apparently they're wolf lions, but I just kept calling them tiger cats and it became a thing for the whole session. Everyone was calling them tiger cats, so I mean, I'm right? So we had to leave the oasis and head back to the city of Tyr, and on the way, obviously, we came across some problems. First of all, our poor little halfling Nibbles ended up just screaming in agony for no reason, and so as the folk hero in the group, I decided to take things into my own hands and just tackle her to the ground. It didn't work. Turns out it was an agony beetle. Those things cause agony. It like got up into her skin, under her back by her spine, and being the folk hero again, I was like, I got this. And I'm a Thry-Kreen, so I'm assuming we don't really have that much finesse, but I was like, I'll do a med check and it'll be cool, we'll get this. And I got like a 4 on my medicine check, so just basically like, here you go, found it. And then after somebody else got it out, I was like, don't worry, I'll sew it back up with another med check. The druid wouldn't let me do that. Instead he just cured wounds. I guess that's a thing to do. And as we continued on our way back to the city of Tyr, we ended up coming across a wagon of wandering minstrels, and there were 10 bards on it, and they had stopped, which is kind of weird. Desert of danger, why would you stop? But it turns out there was a small tree there that had a magical fruit on it. Domo decided to go check it out, and the second that he and I got close, they kind of freaked out at us, as one would. So our druid, Bardock, decided to change into a gopher. He burrowed underneath and grabbed the fruit. Meanwhile, the halfling was pretending to burrow, but she wasn't having any luck. And Bardock was able to do a successful deception check when he came back, and so nobody knew that he got it. And understanding what was going on, I decided to help out looking for this creature, and so I just dug into the sand, and I just had sand coming out of my claws and my mouth, because that's what you do when you're trying to deceive someone. They were pretty mad at us still, and then we just left, and it was all good, and we came up with the magical fruit, so win-win-win for us, less so for them. Maybe they're still looking for that damn gopher out there. And we decided to head back to Haka, the Thry-Kreen, who was the one who gave us our previous quest. I got his name this time. He had another quest for us. Well, I should say, he still had the 2 other quests for us, and then there was an additional one at it, which was to go wrangle some crawlood, which apparently are lizard ostriches. I think that's the easiest way to describe them. So they're big enough that you can ride them like an ostrich, but they're also lizardy. Sounds super cute, right? So we left back to the Tablelands and met up with La Bonitas, and she told us that she had 98 Crawdlu that had escaped. She asked us to get as many of them back as we could and to not ask questions, which isn't at all suspicious, right? So we went out, we found them, we didn't really have any problems. We decided to wrangle a few so we could ride them back, which went terribly. Only Vashti was able to get on one. Other than that, it was just a lot of rolls and a lot of fails. Like, we got on them, then we fell off. We got on them, then we fell off. Even helping each other out to grant advantage did not help. Domo had magic snares, so he was able to snare 2 of them, and Bardock changed into a Crawdlu, so that helped wrangle them too. After pitching camp for the night, we headed back in, and on our way back in, we ran into somebody. It was a heavily armored dwarf named Namtar, and he was like, listen guys, these are my Crawdlu. And we were like, well, you didn't ask us to go get these. La Bonitas did, so are you sure they're yours? And as a party, we decided that they probably were his. But we also decided to make a profit out of this, because in Dark Sun, anything goes. Basically, he agreed to give us 100 copper pieces to return these to him. And we said, well, La Bonitas promised us a little bit more and a magic fruit, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go take these back to her. We'll take our reward, and then tonight we'll steal them and we'll bring them back to you. And he was amenable to that because he didn't really like Labonitas much. He even gave us 50 copper pieces in advance, which we were not expecting, because what if we just didn't do it? And there was definitely talk of just bringing the Crodlu back to Labonitas, taking that 50 copper pieces, and then just going back home. We didn't though. We kept our word to one of those people. So we collected 200 CP and a magic fruit from Labonitas, and then we went away a little bit, rested until it went nightfall, and then we decided to break back into the paddock to steal all of the Crodlu, including hers, because we're terrible people. Again, it was a bit of a disaster to get on the Crodlu, but eventually we were on them and we were headed on our way around the back of the city of Tyr. And what do we find as we're coming along but this giant centipede on the side of the wall of the city of Tyr, which we were calling a megapede. Yay, giant bugs, that's great, I love them. So first things first, Bardock decided that he wanted to try to get the Crodlu to stampede this giant centipede, and guess what? It didn't work. Then Nibbles used a sand whip and managed to flip the Crodlu on its back, which was pretty awesome, which gave us a little bit of advantage. Bardock, still in Crodlu form, jumped up on top of the centipede and started pecking him, which didn't do much. Then Domo jumped up on his face and put a foot on either jaw and shot down his throat. That didn't kill him either. And I specifically asked these two people, do you think you should get off the giant centipede? And they didn't. So on the centipede's next turn, he just flipped over and they got hurt. And Domo was getting pretty weak at this point, so he decided to shoot the centipede with another arrow. Didn't kill him, and so he decided to play dead. Which was stupid, because if you don't know, if you are prone, your attacker has advantage on you. So then Domo was actually dead. And that was our first death of this campaign. And then next, Nibbles came up, and she just kind of came up and punched the crap out of the centipede, and then it died. And then she ripped off a leg and kind of took that as her trophy. After that, we dropped off the rest of the Crodlu with Namtar, and then we went back to our house because poor Domo was hurting pretty bad. After everyone was all healed back up, we did a little bit of shopping. We headed back to Hukka to get another quest. And this time he had 2 wagons on his list, so we decided to go with the wagon that had been there the longest. 1, because we figured it'd be easier, and 2, because that person had been waiting the longest. And the quest was for a female mall named Dazari, who had a caravan that went out to the iron mines and then came back. And she just needed someone to escort it. Water's provided, which is great considering we're in the desert, so we decided to take it. Everything was going pretty well until on, I think it was the second night, there was this big storm going on. I was in one of the carriages, Nibbles and Vashti were in the other one. Domo was on the front carriage, and Bardock was on the back carriage. And all of a sudden there's lightning. So Domo smartly slips down pretty low, so he's not going to get hit with lightning. Bardock, being the grumpy old man that he is, did not. And so he got hit with a bolt of lightning. Well, he did him like 6 damage, and so he was like, is that the best you can do? And it wasn't, because he got hit again with more lightning for like 15 points of damage, and so he's pretty much almost dead. So like I reached up and I pulled him inside the carriage, and then we just kind of kept going on until some raiders showed up. There were 8 of them, 4 on either side flanking us. Domo shot one of the Crodlu, it didn't go down. Nibbles jumped out onto another Crodlu, couldn't take care of her guy. I didn't really do much. I burnt some. Bardock was actually super successful because he was able to use a cantrip to open up a hole in the ground, and it took out 3 of the riders on one side, so we were taking care of them. And poor Nibbles, she has this really cool ability where if somebody shoots an arrow at her, she can catch it and throw it back at them, and every time someone shot an arrow at her, they missed her terribly. It took until one of the last guys to do it, and she like grabbed it and threw it back and killed that guy. At this point, we were pretty much down to just the one guy at the very front, the leader, who had jumped on the front of the carriage. The only person there was Vashti and the drivers. So Domo, who had moved back to the second carriage at some point during the night, jumped up to the second one, but he was a little far behind. Vashti was doing pretty good holding his own though, and then the raider hit him. And the raider crit failed, and I conveniently remembered that if you crit fail, your weapon breaks. So the raider didn't have a weapon anymore, and Vashti had no time finishing him off, and he did his favorite thing, which is to grapple him to the side of the carriage and drop him under the wheel. And in my head, Vashti said, "We'll be seeing you." Nobody at the table liked it either. We made it the rest of the way to the mines with no issues, and then after a day or so, we turned around and came back. On the way back, we ran into a halfling because we were pretty close to the halfling forests, but there was just one of them. So Nibbles, who had procured a Crodlu in that fight that we had, got off her Crodlu and walked up to him and tried to reason with him. It's a little hard to reason with feral halflings though, so it didn't go too well. So she nobly went and grabbed her crawdloo and sacrificed it to the feral halfling, and then a bunch more came out and we were able to get away. On our way back to Tyr, nothing else happened, which was great. We went home, we rested a bit, and then we decided to go out for dinner that night. And when we came out of our house, the Templar were there accosting everybody. And the Templar are basically King Calic's knights, and they're jerks from what I understand. They were shaking everybody down. I tried to stealth so they wouldn't see me. It failed horribly. My character is set up to be stealthy, and just my rolls were just crap. And so they were asking everybody what they had, if anybody had magic items, iron, all this. And when they got to me, I was like, I have 4 claws. And I like to high-five myself. And they were like, man, this Thri-kreen is special, and just let me go. So it worked out pretty well. I can't remember where we went for dinner, but it was something like the Shrieking Shack, but probably not that because that's a Harry Potter thing. But there was an entrance to Undertier in that place. And so we decided to take it, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. We got down there and it was pretty dark, so our druid Bardock changed into a rat so he could see better. He scoped out ahead of us and he found 2 bards that were arguing over a merchant they had killed. Well, I guess one had killed him and one had lured him down there. So Bardock came back, told us what was going on, and we decided why not take the loot for ourselves. That's where being greedy gets you in trouble. It started out pretty well. Nibbles and I snuck into the room. They had no idea we were there. We had a nice little surprise round on them, and then we started our regular round. And then they pretty much beat the crap out of all of us. Mainly me. I died. And I was sad about it because I'm pretty sure in our old campaign in Planescape, in 6 months, I died once. We're on the 2nd session, I've already died. Stupid Dark Sun. But we eventually managed to do them in, and we got quite a bit of loot, which was pretty awesome, including a magic wand of magic detection, so that was worth it in the end. And then we decided to go home, and that was the end of our session. Overall, I think it was a pretty great 2nd session of Dark Sun. It was a little long, but that was just timing-wise. I think we ran a little long, and so I was getting a little bit exhausted at the end. And also I died at the end. If we hadn't gone out, I wouldn't have died. But it was pretty fun. It's so neat to see how different everyone's character is in Dark Sun versus when we were playing in Planescape. Because in Planescape, everyone was kind of nice and rational and reasonable. And in Dark Sun, we're just out to make a buck and to screw as many people over as we can, it seems. But still, so far, so good. And the fact that no one's had to roll a new character means that we're doing something right, I think. That's it from me today. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up below so I know to make more videos like this. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button so you will know when I upload next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.